The Four Leaf Clover podcast is sponsored by Planet Celtic.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back, but more importantly, Celtic are back. Andy, have you missed them, pal?
Absolutely. National break, it's so boring. So absolutely delighted that the football is back tomorrow and we can go on and talk about it tonight, which is good. Feels as if we've hardly been on as well, so it's good to get back into it again.
It certainly is. Good to see everybody in the chat as well. Paddy, how are you getting on, sir?
All good here, Scotty. Yeah, just delighted to have the boys back tomorrow. You know yourself, I'm not a big international football fan, so these international breaks just don't do me any good at all. So I've formed quite a few new relationships with my own family over the last couple of weeks. So I've had to learn to speak to them and all and talk to them as they go by. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks, but no, all good. Me and the wee man on the road early tomorrow morning. So back to Celtic Park tomorrow. So we just can't wait.
Yeah, that's probably not too much for me, Paddy. The whole conversation with your family, a wee nod. That's what the stage I've got to, just an acknowledgement, and that'll do.
And Paddy, would you like to explain? That was your first top you ever got as a wee boy or something? You were telling us in the green room there, wasn't it?
This is the 1888 top, so it's a very special one. So this is I got that for my birthday. So. No, it's a favourite one of mine. It doesn't get out very often, but it's just a particular favourite. So it's a 1888 top. So
brilliant, mate. You'll notice that one of our guys is missing tonight. Our Jerry, he was over in Lisbon, as you can see there, with his family. He just got back today, so I think he is too busy to jump on tonight. He's literally just get back in the house, as far as we know. So we will see him either for the post-match tomorrow, or we'll see him probably more likely back in Wednesday. So all the best to you, Jerry. And the man in the middle there is actually Jerry's dad. And I don't know if you actually know this, folks, but Jerry's uncle Donny, who was a boxer, all Jerry's dad and the brothers, I think they hold a world record. I think they're the only 7 brothers, professional boxers in the world. Which is crazy. But his uncle Donny was actually the man who separated the crowd when Billy McNeil couldn't get through with the European Cup. So it was nice for his dad to go where his brother once stood, and obviously where the Lions lifted the big cup as well. So that's an amazing photo, and we'll look forward to seeing you back on Wednesday, Jerry. So a few things to go over, lads. There was a wee update today. We spoke about it last Friday, Andy. Gareth Shira, his family went over to Lanzarote, and there has been an update on the case. They had actually closed the case, so they had. But what's happened is due to his mum and his niece going over there, they've actually opened the case back up again. So on the Find Gareth Shira Facebook page, they've put a little statement up, and it reads as follows. So basically, the police have assured us that they're going to continue to investigate Gary's case. I got more clarification on timings of the CCTV and viewed the CCTV myself. Gary was last picked up on CCTV at 00:49 hours. As I said, I will do a post with a clearer timeline of events soon. We go home tomorrow. So we've been spending the last of our time here ensuring that there are plenty of missing posters up. They have also issued a description of Gary in the hopes that anyone might have information. So Andy, like I said, mate, we spoke about it last week. It's great news, isn't it, for the family?
Aye, obviously they went out of their hands to try and kind of put some more kind of focus on finding Gary. As you said, the case was closed, so they've opened it back up again, which can only be good news to find out exactly what happened to him. Must be an absolutely dreadful situation to be in, just no known. So hopefully their efforts to go to Lanzarote and kind of get something done look as if it's actually worked the trick. So fingers crossed they get some news of what happened to Gary, where he is, or what happened to him, or whatever it would be. They certainly need that help.
Definitely, mate. And Paddy, we touched on it last week. We put our own appeal out for him. It's been 2 years now, and literally no leads whatsoever. They couldn't find the guy in the CCTV that he was last seen with, things like that. But fantastic news that they've opened the case back up to try and find Gareth Shira.
Brilliant, Scott, and a wee chink of light for that family. That family must be going through just an absolute nightmare. None of us can even begin to think how that might feel for them. So it's a wee positive thing for them. So I know we spoke about it last week, and again, we'll just reaffirm that again for anybody who holidays in that area. This has been 2 years. So if you've been out there at all, it doesn't necessarily have to be that week that you were there, or the fortnight or whatever. Just if you've been in Lanzarote and over the last couple of years, and you've been taking photographs or videos or whatever you've been doing with your family, if you've been out in the Irish bars, if you've been on the coast, whatever, go back over your photographs, have a wee look, because there may well be answers out there. Somebody who watches this show may have pictures on their phone, have pictures on their digital camera, memory card, whatever. They may have pictures that they don't even realize they have. As I said last week, to us it might seem completely meaningless, but to the police investigating the disappearance of Gary, and for this family, it could be the key that unlocks the mystery to what happened to him. This family need to find out what happened to Gary. There's no question of that. We need to know what happened to fella. He's one of us. He's Celtic fan, Celtic family, and that's what we do. We look after our own. We stick together. So I would just appeal to people again. One more wee look round. Even tell your pals, even if they don't watch the show. Just tell your pals, anybody, if you're bound to know people who holiday in that area. If you've been in Lanzarote over the last couple of years and you've been taking photographs, look around, you don't know. Gary could be sitting in a pub somewhere. You just don't know. It could be, as I say, something very simple and meaningless for us could just unlock the answers for this family, and it would be brilliant to see them getting to find out just exactly what became of Gary. So I would just appeal to you to please keep going back over your holiday snaps.
Yeah, and for those that are on Facebook, there's a Find Gareth Shira Facebook page. If you want to post the signs and that the family's put out on your socials, that would be fantastic as well. And just do our best to try and spread the word, and get the family some sort of closure either way. I think they've came to terms with what's happened, and they just want answers now. And let's hope that we can certainly help by getting them those answers. So let's move on to Celtic now, lads. We're back, as we said, so let's see what's been happening.
What's happening?
So at the start of the week, the WWE rolled into town. Monday Night Raw was actually in Glasgow. And the best in the world at the old wrestling, Andy, is our CM Punk. And he was up to his usual shithousery, shall we say. He's not a fan of the Rangers supporting Drew McIntyre. So what he did was he got up and got all his Celtic clubber on with a nice wee belt there as well, actually, if you look at it, done in all the Celtic colours. What do you make of that, Andy? Brilliant.
I'm not a big wrestling fan. In fact, I'm not a fan of wrestling at all. My best mate Dave, he was right into wrestling when we were younger, and I just couldn't take to it at all. I thought it was just a load of nonsense. But I think that's all happened when they played in Glasgow, or they had the event in Glasgow the last time, and it was all about that big Egypt. What's his name again?
Drew McIntyre.
They had him out at Ibrox that, and then obviously CM Punk, somebody said to him, this is really going to getting his nerves, and they came out with his training tap on, track it up. And obviously it's rolled on for then. He's back in Glasgow again, and Celtic have took him in a stadium tour. So you'll probably look at the fact that he's going to look at Celtic and not just as a wind-up to this McIntyre guy, but he'll probably have a real affection He said himself he's from Irish background, so and he loves the green and all that. I think he wears red when he's at an event, but he says he loves green, loves Ireland. So I think he'll have a lifelong affection with Celtic. Maybe not the biggest football fan, but I think he spoke very well. Obviously, he's been reading up and been told with some historical stuff about Celtic, but he certainly knew what he was talking about, you know, and he looked quite enthusiastic when they showed him around the trophy room with all the trophies, now being the most successful football club in the world that we are. So good to see him. By the way, as I said, I'm not into wrestling, but that belt looks an absolute cracker. I'd love to have it up on my wall. So,
I know. We'll need to contact him, mate, see if we can get it and hang it up on the wall.
You get that from the Celtic shop, or is it on a website or something you get that? I'm sure you'd be able to pick him up.
Maybe send him a wee tweet if Twitter gets its arse in gear later on. Maybe send him a wee tweet later and see where they go with it for. But Paddy, as Andy said, you know, they call it a work in wrestling when they're working the other, you know, their sort of enemies and stuff. Yeah. And he genuinely is not a fan of Drew McIntyre in real life.
Yeah.
So it was the ultimate shithousery, you know, with what he was doing there. But as Andy said, he actually done his research as well, and it looked as though he is actually a Celtic fan now, which was good to see.
It is, and it shows you again he's associated with the right club again. We're winners. We're on the brink of another treble, and it's good to see him with a wrestling belt for whatever award he's won recently over his shoulder. So it goes hand in hand with the Celtic supporters and the club as a whole. He's obviously a successful wrestler, so he's well aligned with the correct club, and it's just nice to see. It's just nice to see them putting that other guy in his place, because I remember seeing him and it was absolutely cringeworthy what they done. You know, Celtic have done it just in the proper way. It's been done really well. The guy spoke very well, you know, and it showed him in the stadium and that the other day. So it was just completely different to what they tried to do with the other guy. So again, you know, we just do everything that wee bit better than they do, and they know it too.
Yeah, there's Michelle likes a bit of wrestling.
enough said about
that. Welcome to the best team in the world, the best club in the world, CM Punk. He is the best
podcast in the world.
And the best podcast. Hopefully you're watching this as well, mate. So welcome to the party. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow is a game we spoke about last Friday as well. Ayr United are playing Dunfermline. It is Scott Brown versus Neil Lennon. But Andy, I made a wee sort of half-hearted joke last week that maybe he should get on the phone to Gary Hooper and get him up the road and get him banging in the goals. But he's went and top trumped me a wee bit here. And he's actually went and phoned Victor Wanyama, 33-year-old, by the way. Victor Wanyama, what a signing that is for Dunfermline.
Massive signing. I couldn't believe it when I first heard, and I thought he was older than that. I've got to be honest with you. I thought he was probably done in football. I knew he was still there in Canada, but I thought maybe he was more into a coaching role or something rather than playing. It's obviously been a call for help for Lenny, you know, somebody who knows very well. Big Vic, absolute man mountain, loves spaghetti. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be in touch with a lot of the Italian restaurants in Dunfermline to get his fix of spaghetti. I think it's just really kind of out the blue. It's came, you know, couldn't really. I mean, we like tongue in cheek talking about Gary Hooper. Now you're starting to think, you know, who else is coming in? I think they could definitely do a job. Big Vic can still do a job, I'd imagine. He still looks very fit, doesn't he? Strange man, but delighted for Lenny and delighted for that. I'm not a Dunfermline fan, but I've got absolutely nothing against Dunfermline. In fact, I can mind when it was the centenary season and Dunfermline fans had a big banner saying "Happy Birthday Celtic." Celtic, but I can remember that. So, as I say, I'm not a big fan of Dunfermline, but I'll always remember that. So good luck to them. I know they're not the greatest place in the league, but I'm sure Lenny and Big Vic will help them try and get up the table a wee bit.
Definitely, man. He should use that phone book he has and get these guys up. If it's only for 7 games, just to try and keep them in the league and then push on for that. Big Vic would probably stay there, I would imagine, if they stayed up. And, the chairman's speaking very highly at the minute. Andy, can you just answer that question for us, mate, for Anthony there?
If he contacts you or me on Twitter, I'll send him it. He can have it.
Right. There you go, Anthony. There you go, my good man. So, Paddy, massive news. Big Victor Wanyama back in Scottish football. Yeah, we've been speaking the past few weeks that we sort of need a player like Big Vic at Celtic. We've been linked with that, the boy for France, 6'7", 6'8", whatever he is. What a signing for Dunfermline, pal.
What a coup, Scott, for Neil Lennon as his first signing, and also for the town of Dunfermline. The place must be buzzing. I've been keeping a wee eye on some of their socials this week, and you can just see the fans have just, it's absolutely captured the imagination of the supporters, especially the younger guys and maybe the not so younger guys who remember Big Vic playing for Celtic. So it's very, very, it's a very strange one, I have to admit, but it's just absolutely surreal for them. I'm sure they're delighted, and I'm sure they're sort of kicking themselves or trying to see if it's maybe they think that it's going to wake up and it's going to be a dream. But first of all, to get Lenny on the contract to the end of the season, and then to get Victor Wanyama, and as you say, you don't know who else is maybe going to come in. It puts me in mind of Fulham many years ago when they signed Rodney Marsh at the height of his career, and George Best. Absolutely transformed that club, and that's what I thought of when I saw Lennon taking the job, and I saw Big Vic going to join him. I just thought that's maybe something along those lines. So listen, it's great for Dunfermline, brilliant for the town, brilliant for the club. The one thing that the appointment of Neil Lennon and signing Victor Wanyama will put bums on seats. There's absolutely no question of that. They might have been struggling to get people through the doors, but they won't be now, especially for the next 3 or 4 games. So I'm just delighted for Lennon. I'm delighted Big Vic's back here. He was a top man for Celtic. Great to see him back. You heard him talking about Scotland. He's obviously still got a great affinity with Scotland and the country and the people. He talked very fondly of them the other day. So just great all round. And there's no losers in this situation for Dunfermline. So they couldn't have got a better man for the job. And Neil Lennon, listen, he knows exactly what's at stake here. He's got to get them up that table. He's got to get a couple of wins and get them away from the relegation battle there. So no better man for it. So two seasoned campaigners, like Neil Lennon and Victor Wanyama. It won't be for the lack of fight and the lack of effort. Just think what that'll do to that Dunfermline dressing room.
It's madness, man. I think Bruni will even be kicking himself now that he didn't go and get him. Great signing, and I can't wait to see the sort of fallout from that game tomorrow. So after the Celtic Hearts game, I'll definitely be looking for the fallout for that game. It'll be brilliant to see. So moving on.
I have no desire whatsoever to be a referee at any time, but what I wouldn't give to be the 4th official at that game tomorrow. I would pay good money to be the 4th official between them two tomorrow. That could be tasty.
Poor guy will need a couple of paracetamols tomorrow night, I'm sure. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, there is a protest planned tomorrow by the Celtic fans due to the unprofessional behaviour of Police Scotland, shall we just say. So Celtic supporters are planning an official protest tomorrow in response to what they describe as a continued criminalisation and repression of football fans in Scotland. The demonstration is set to take place outside London Road Police Station at 1:15 p.m, just hours before the kick-off against Hearts at Celtic Park. The latest move comes on the back of the week where tensions between Police Scotland and sections of the Celtic support have reached boiling point. A joint statement issued by several fan groups, including the Celtic Supporters Association, the Green Brigade, and other ultra organisations, described a premeditated attack on Celtic fans at last week's Glasgow derby. Supporters report they were subject to heavy-handed policing tactics, including kettling and mass detention under Section 60 of the Public Order Act, which we covered on last week's podcast. The protest, organised under the banner of Fans Against Criminalisation, calls on all Celtic fans to stand together against what they see as an overreach of law enforcement and coordinated efforts to suppress supporter culture. The demonstration will take place shortly before Saturday's Premiership clash with Hearts, which kicks off at 3 p.m. This comes at a time when many within the Celtic fan base believe there is a growing trend in Scottish football of cracking down on fan groups who do not conform to the agendas of football authorities and police forces. The recent incidents have sparked anger, which calls for a formal review of fan engagement policies across the country. The Celtic Supporters Association, one of the oldest and most established fan groups connected to the club, has thrown its weight behind the protest, which should not be underestimated. With thousands expected to flock to Celtic Park for the SPFL fixture against Hearts, organisers are hopeful for a strong turnout at the protest. They believe a clear and unified message must be sent to those in power. Football fans will not accept criminalisation and repression as part of the matchday experience. So the details of the protest is tomorrow at 1:15 p.m. at London Road Police Station, and it's ahead of the game. The demonstration is expected to be peaceful, with organisers encouraging all participants to act responsibly while making their point loud and clear. Andy, we put the scenes on here last week of the kettling. We heard that fans were held for 4, 5, 6 hours without food, water, women and children as well included. Fans were told to take hoods down and things like that, but Celtic sell merchandise with hoods on them. You know, all these different things. We could go on and on and on, but then we've seen the Rangers fans getting ushered into the stadium with their faces covered, their hoods up. You know, it can't be one rule for one and one for the other. And the fans, in my opinion, are quite right to go ahead with this tomorrow. Yourself?
Aye, absolutely. Totally agree with it. 100% behind them. They've got to make some kind of stand and bring it to attention and not just let it lie. It'll be interesting to see how the police handle that situation at London Road Police Station tomorrow, innit? You know, so I'll be keeping an eye on that on social media to see how that turns out. But they're certainly going to do something. I mean, what happened a couple of weeks ago was just a ridiculous situation for football fans, paying customers to be denied access to see their club. But not just that, the way they were treated as well, the way they were contained within that area. And by all means, the whole road was shut off. It had a bigger effect than that because for what I hear, supporters buses couldn't get so far. So then you're getting people coming off as supporters buses, people that maybe can't walk far, you know, they're relying on getting dropped off quite as close to or into the bus park, then it's just across the road. They've got a lot longer to walk, and then if they've got the stairs to manoeuvre as well, you know what I mean? I've been in a situation before where you've got a long walk, and see, as soon as you start hitting these stairs, my legs start to cramp up and that. So, you know, it's got a knock-on effect, not just that, but the way they were treated was an absolute disgrace. So I'm glad they're actually doing something about it, or at least highlighting it more and not just letting it lie for a week and then it gets forgotten about. So hopefully, I don't know what is going to happen or if they can make any changes or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that Police Scotland really need to be careful how they handle this situation tomorrow, and not just that, but going forward as well with events in the future, whether it be at Celtic Park or at away venues, the way they're treating the fans, they really need to be careful because they're certainly abusing their powers, that's for sure.
Aye, and I think Edward comes out with a great point there. This stand should be backed by all clubs, bar none. I don't think it should just be Celtic fans, guys. Paddy, I know Celtic have put a statement out tonight as well regarding this, but just gone back to the scenes at the Glasgow Derby, the way the fans were treated was unbelievable, really, watching it unfold.
Shameful, Scotty, to see. You know, and this is us who travel week in, week out. We go home, we go away, we go to Hampden. You know, and I've seen it myself. You know, You know, and if you look at I can just look at our bus, our supporters bus. It's a wide variety of men, women, children. You know, people in different jobs. You know, people with different careers. You know, but you seem to be judged. You know, once you put a scarf around your neck and get off the bus, you seem to be just. You know, there's no rhyme or reason with the way Police Scotland single you out as a football supporter. You know, and yes, you may be a football supporter tomorrow afternoon, but on Monday morning you've got a career. You've got a job to go to. You've got a career to do. You know, so it's not everybody that goes to the football and has a scarf around their neck is a hooligan. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying for 1 second that any of the guys involved last week were hooligans, but you know that's essentially what the police are trying to. That's the picture they're trying to paint. And you know, going back to the comment there about, you know, everybody should be getting behind this, and that's absolutely 100% true, because this is not just Celtic fans. You know, there's been complaints this season from Aberdeen supporters, Hibs supporters. There's also complaints from clubs down in England as well. You know, this seems to be to me, it seems to be taking on like a societal problem. You know, where, you know, football fans are being demonized. You know what I mean? You know, just for being a football fan. You know, and you can also see the difference in the, you know, look at the difference with the alcohol in the stadiums. You can go to a rugby match at Murrayfield and you can drink your fill, but you're not trusted. You're not trusted to have a drink at the football. You know, that it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely scandalous the way football supporters in general are being treated. So I don't know exactly what went on last week, what the main issue was, but you know, as Andy said, people have paid good money, you know what I mean? I know there's guys on our bus that travel from Ireland that belong to the Green Brigade, you know, so I know that our tickets for that game last week were over £50. So there's people there travelling to Glasgow, they're getting off buses, they're joining in with the Green Brigade, they've paid £50 to get into a football match, and they haven't managed to get to the game. They've been stopped from going to the game because they've got a scarf around their neck, or they've got a balaclava on, or whatever way they happen to be dressed. And that's just not acceptable. Absolutely not acceptable. You know, you look at the other events at the other big places in, you know, over in Scotland. You've got events at Murrayfield, you've got events at the Hydro, you've got events at, you know, all these other events. You know, there doesn't seem to be any other spectator base treated in this way. You know, at any other arena. You know, we have the Odyssey here in Belfast. You know, that's where the Belfast Giants play ice hockey. There's big ice hockey games go on there. There's massive music concerts go on there. I've been to that place myself, and there's never been. You probably wouldn't even see a policeman. You know what I mean? It's external security, and it's just really ushering you in the right direction. But there's no heavy-handed tactics with, you know, it just definitely seems to be somebody has a bee in their bonnet about football supporters at the minute. And as I say, it's not exclusively about Celtic fans. You know, there are other clubs who are saying the exact same thing. And it's not only in Scotland, it's happening in England as well. Listen, these guys want to be ultras or whatever that they want to be called. That's how they want to follow the club. They want to follow the club in a different way. It's not for me personally. I'm too old for that. Carry on now. But, you know, these guys like to bang the drums and they do the side to side and all that there. And listen, I have absolutely no problem with that as long as they're not ruining the spectacle for other people. You know what I mean? They have absolutely every right to go and express themselves in whatever way they feel, as long as it's within the law and it's not affecting other people. But as I say, I just think it was absolutely scandalous that people who had genuine tickets and travel plans for the game last week hadn't been allowed to get to the match, and that can't be allowed to stand. The one thing for me is tonight, Celtic have made that statement tonight. We talked about it in the green room, but for me, Celtic have taken far too long. You know, we're now nearly 2 weeks from the event, and Celtic are only saying something now. You know, it's been very poor from the club, to be honest. They should have had a reaction to this long before. And I think tonight that the fact that the Celtic Supporters Association have now thrown their weight behind this as well, I think that tells you all you need to know. You know, genuine, you know, run of the mill, you know, grassroots Celtic fans of all ages they're just becoming tired of this now, and they're not going to accept it, and nor should they accept it. It's not good enough, and something needs to be done, and Celtic need to take the lead here.
You're bang on, mate. You're absolutely bang on. And Monty agrees with you, my good man. Correct. Totally correct. So the next thing that came out of the club this week is some bad news, actually, Andy. We've found out that our Kasper has picked up an injury on international duty. It's the one thing that we don't want to hear when our players are coming back from international duty. I've just got a couple of wee slides here that I'm going to read out to you first then, lads, before we discuss it. So Marvin Bartley has spoken out following a controversial incident involving Kasper Schmeichel during Denmark's Nation League match against Portugal. The focus of his frustration was a late offside decision by the assistant referee that led to a painful injury for Schmeichel. In the final moments of the game, Schmeichel dived to make an important save, but in the process he landed awkwardly, injuring his shoulder. The incident was made all the more frustrating for Bartley, as he believed the save could have been avoided entirely. He pointed out that the assistant referee failed to raise a flag for a clear offside, leaving Schmeichel to risk injury unnecessarily. The late call had significant consequences, with Schmeichel now seemingly struggling with discomfort. Kasper Schmeichel does his shoulder as the assistant ref doesn't put his flag up for a blatant offside, and he ends up trying to save it, now screaming every time he has to dive. Mate, I get the rule if it's close. That wasn't, especially as he had the halfway line as a blatant guide. It's a shambles. So Bartley's frustration is correct, with many agreeing that the offside was as clear as day, and the failure to call it led directly to Schmeichel's injury. His words highlight how a simple error by the officials could have serious injury concerns for both players and teams. Andy, it's something we've spoke about on this podcast quite a few times. It's probably the most annoying rule in football at the minute is when the referee takes a fucking age to put his flag up. And in this case, it's caused an injury to our Kasper. Now, I watched the press conference today with Brendan, and he could be out for the rest of the season. Brendan doesn't know yet. Could be, a couple of games, but what we do know is he's definitely not going to be between the sticks tomorrow. But this rule, mate, it needs to be looked at, doesn't it? And it's a shame for Kasper, mate, that he has to bear the consequences of that.
It does, aye. And to be fair to the linesmen and the refs there, they simply don't make their tail to follow the rules. So it's whoever's bringing these rules out, creating these rules, have got to have a look at themselves. And many people have said that, we have said that it could lead to an injury. That could have been quite easily avoided, especially when it's quite obvious that it is offside. It's absolutely pointless letting it run, leaving it late, and that's exactly what's happened. Kasper's got an injury, and it is quite concerning because, especially him being a keeper, things like this can affect you and then no get better at all. At his age as well, he's at the tail end of his career, so technically, and I don't want to scaremonger or do anything like that, but it could be a career ender because it might never heal properly.
Yeah.
If it's any kind of dislocation or anything like that, or serious damage in there where the joint is, as you know, Scotty, you're still got a sore shoulder the now for your accident. You're still not fully recovered. But you're not going to be getting in a couple of weeks' time and going diving about a football pitch, and it could just make it worse again. So, I think we could be seeing the last day Kasper this season. I really believe that because I think that's it can be quite a serious injury to have, obviously for a goalkeeper. So I think we ought to get used to seeing Sinisolo between the sticks or Celtic.
Yeah. And a few people have been commenting in the comments there, Paddy. It's a massive chance for the young man to come in now. Again, Brendan spoke about him during the press conference today, saying he's very good with his feet, like Kasper is, and things like that. And he's tried to mould him on Kasper, and he looked for these sort of qualities before he signed him. But just before we talk about Sinisolo, let's have a quick chat about this stupid rule. We knew this was going to happen eventually. We hoped it wouldn't happen to a Celtic player, but is it going to take maybe happening to an Mbappe or a Messi or a Ronaldo for this rule to get scrapped altogether? I imagine Mbappe out for the rest of the season, £200 million player. Is this what it's going to take for this rule to get scrapped?
Unfortunately, that's how it looks, Scott. And it's been a pet hate of mine for quite some time. Listen, I can understand if it's a close thing and somebody has a chance to score a goal, that's different. But this incident was the guy was half a pitch offside. There was absolutely no need, but obviously linesmen are instructed to keep their flag up, so therefore the players have to keep on playing. But I've seen some of these incidents, and sometimes the players they're still playing, but they're only going sort of half-hearted, and that's when you're going to get hurt. That's exactly when you're going to get hurt. So, do you know what? Looking back on it, it's just a pity Kasper just didn't step to the side and let the guy rifle the ball into the net, because he knew it was offside anyway. But he's a goalkeeper. He's a top-class goalkeeper. It's in his DNA to try to keep the ball out of the net, and it happens so quickly. But it's just a piece of nonsense. But as Andy said, it can have very long-ranging, consequences for us and also for Kasper. It may be the kind of injury, it might be the sort of thing that, every time he lands awkwardly on his shoulder, it's going to go again. And that's what Andy said. It could be a career ender because he's a goalkeeper. Just very, very disappointing for him, because he's been a massive part of what we have done this season. Coming in to follow from Joe Hart. He's come in there seamlessly, and we've been talking about him since the very first game of the season, about his influence, about his performances, and the way he keeps things ticking over with the guys at the back. And if he is gone for any period of time, particularly maybe even for the rest of the campaign, it's going to be very disappointing for him, especially if we're on the threshold of winning another treble. You want him to be out there on the pitch with the players, achieving that. You don't want him in the suit, picking up his medals, wearing a suit, so it's just very disappointing. The one thing I am worried about this one now, I'm actually quite worried about it, because, I think the fact that we haven't heard, there's no time scale. Brendan hasn't been told anything. I think what they've said is there's been an x-ray, there's no break. I don't think there's any bone damage, so there's nothing fractured. But that tells me there may be nerve damage or muscle damage of some kind. One of the initial reaction to come out of the international squad that he was with was, some of them said that they thought he was gone to September. You know what I mean? So we've not been told anything. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 months.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just a massive, massive disappointment for him. Listen, I have no doubts that Sinisalo will step up. No question of that. He has the tools in his locker, or he wouldn't be a Celtic player, and he's had the benefit of basically working with Kasper Schmeichel and Scott Bain all season long. So listen, the guy can't have done anything else other than learn from the great man himself. So I have no fears about Sinisalo whatsoever. Just if he gets a game or two here, builds up his rapport with his back four, 2 fullbacks, the 2 centre halves. I've seen enough of him in the warm-ups, at the games we've been at. To me, he looks like a really good goalkeeper, a really sharp shot stopper. So let's not have no fears about the guy at all. I'm disappointed for Kasper Schmeichel. I really am. But listen, let's hope that we get some good news. Maybe I think they said they're going to wait for an MRI scan or whatever. So let's just hope we get some kind of good news. If he's out for a couple of weeks, so be it. But I just wouldn't, for his sake, I would just hate to see him missing the best part of the season when the trophies get handed out.
That's it, mate. And like a few have said in the comments, it could be a blessing in disguise for this young man. He could be coming in and staking his claim now and keeping the jersey. We keep saying it on this podcast, come in and rip the jersey off the guy you're replacing. This could be the chance for the boy to come in and do that. So let's see. So moving forward, lads, the last story coming at the club this week, Andy, was there could be a new deal on the table for Daizen Maeda, who, if he scores tomorrow, by the way, will be scoring for his 7th game in a row. Andy, he is completely on fire this season. It was neck and neck with him and Nicholas Kuhn up to about 7 games ago, and Kuhn has slightly went off the boil, shall we say. But he's continued. We were a bit worried when Kyogo left, but he's just jumped in there, mate, and taken over. And Brendan said today he's very quiet about getting a new deal. He doesn't say much around the club, but he insists that he's happy, and it'd be sensational if we could get him on a new deal, wouldn't it, mate?
We've mentioned it many times in this pod about getting him on a longer deal, and I know he's no long after extending his contract. But this is a man that deserves a deal in us. You know, we need to look at trying to keep a hold of him if possible. He's been prolific this season, and not just in one position. And it's everything else he gives you, and obviously the goals are very important, but the work he puts in for the team, you get for absolutely nobody else. So I think if Celtic can get him tied down on a longer contract, it doesn't stop him getting bought, right? It doesn't stop people coming in with offers, tempting offers, but it shows our intent that and it shows him that we want to keep him for as long as we possibly can. You know, when it came to January and we were worried about Kyogo going, and this man's just stepped right in there and continued to deliver, which is what he's done all season. And I think obviously you look at the position that Kyogo's in now, he's out of favour, transfer list, he doesn't know where he's going to end up. Is he looking at his shoulder now and gone, what have I done? You know, what have I done? It doesn't even look as if I've been missed. And he was a prolific goal scorer, certainly for a couple of years anyway. He was superb. But Daizen, for me, and the whole support love him. And I love him not just for his goals, as I said, his work rate. He never seems to tire. He never seems to give up. Look how many low spot that other players would have just gave up on, boys. And it turns into chances and goals just because he has persistence. To play against Daizen must be an absolute nightmare for a defender or a goalkeeper, because you don't get a minute to even think about where you're going to put the ball. So you need to be alert as a defender or a goalkeeper or anywhere on the park. Even if he's also very good at defending, tracking back and winning the ball back as well. So even as a forward player, you've got no time on it. If you're a winger, he's chasing up behind you and he's trying to win that ball back. I would love to have him extend his deal and stay with Celtic for longer. I just love the guy to death. Love him.
Aye, he's unbelievable, isn't he, Paddy? He's been absolutely fantastic this season. It's a credit to him as well, and other players should be looking in. You know, that if you are going to get to these sort of levels, then new deals are going to get put on the table for you. He's been excellent for us, mate. Stupid question, obviously, but you know, would you like him to get that new deal over the line?
Oh, it's an absolute no-brainer, Scott, or at least it should be for the guys upstairs. And I was just going to say exactly the same as Edward there. Andy and me have talked about this before. The guy's absolutely unique. He's one of a kind. You know, the one thing I love the Champions League. I love seeing it. Not so much when we get knocked out, but I do like the Champions League when it gets to the nitty-gritty stage, and we're at that stage now where the big games are coming thick and fast. You know, and there's just not another player like Daizen. I've watched the games involving Liverpool and AC Milan, PSG, all the top teams over the last couple of weeks there, and there's just not another player like Daizen Maeda out there. Certainly not in Europe. I'm not, maybe if you go somewhere else you might find one, but there is not a player that does what Daizen Maeda does for Celtic, playing for any of those teams in Europe. And all we're doing here is, obviously we want him to stay as long as he wants to stay in Glasgow. I'll quite happily settle for keeping him for the rest of his career. Daizen might see that differently, but all we're doing here is the same as we've done with other players in the past. You're just protecting your investment. That's all you're doing. I think Daizen, if he keeps going the way he's going, he could be the first player to break that 25-30 million pound mark. If he does go, he's that good. And that's the thing. You said that earlier, Scotty, about the progression. If you look back to, especially his first couple of seasons, I have no problem saying he was one of the most frustrating players I think I'd ever seen playing for Celtic. Because the guy had the speed and the guile to get in, but he couldn't finish his dinner. So the number of times that he made runs to the back post, or the number of times that he got into areas and you're just waiting on the cross ball and he hits it in behind the goals. But the development and this guy has been off the scale. He's taken his game to an absolute completely different level altogether. And that's just testament to the hard work that he's put in himself. It's testament to the coaching staff and Brendan's influence on developing him. He's just different class. Like I was very, very disappointed at the start when I heard that Kyogo was probably going to be leaving. But as Andy says, the fact that we're not even thinking about Kyogo, and we're now going into the stage of the season where Kyogo would have come alive. This is Kyogo's time when the title's on the line, when the semi-finals are at stake, and the finals and the cups are being handed out. That's when Kyogo come alive. We've got Daizen Maeda now. You know what I mean? So we're not even thinking about Kyogo, and that's a testament to Maeda and the way he's developed. So it's a no-brainer, Scott. We should definitely be getting this guy on whatever money he needs to stay. Get him on another 4 or 5 year contract, and that will at least protect the investment. Somebody wants to come in and talk to us, we can say, right, that's okay. We'll talk to you, but the discussion begins at 30 million. You put 30 million on the table, we'll start talking to you. If not, we'll then walk away. So that's how much of an important player he's become. I think he's absolutely key to the way that we play. The other players actually feed off him. They feed off him. You can see Engels, you can see Kuhn, you can see Jota. That these guys are all taking the lead from Maeda. The press starts with Daizen Maeda. That's how we play. And he's become for me. He's probably become for me the first name on the team sheet now. Yep. He's first name on the sheet every week now. That's how vital he's become. So let's just hope that we get the deal done. And as I say, protect the investment. And as I say, if the worst comes to the worst down the line, and he feels that he wants to progress his career somewhere else, at least we'll get decent money for him, because he's producing in Scotland. He's winning trophies. He's producing at the very highest level for both club and country. So there can be absolutely no excuse for Celtic getting decent money if he goes. But first things first, and get him on that long-term deal and secure his immediate future.
Yeah.
Can I just say, Scotty, if there's anybody that deserves a wage rise, it's Daizen. Absolutely.
Aye, no doubt about it, mate. No doubt about it. So a guy that's been mentioned there quite a few times in the comments and by you two as well. Here's a wee question for the both of yous. Kyogo, cut price deal in the summer, back to Celtic. Would you take him, Andy?
If it's a case of aye or no. We could go into it. I think it's a case of you've made your bed, lie in it. No, I think I think possibly we left at the right time when it comes to how long we keep players, and we certainly done very good business. We would get them back, obviously a lot cheaper, I'd imagine. Non-Celtic. It's somewhere I just want to go, and I know he was a fantastic player and goal scorer. No for me, no. And I'm not saying that about every single player coming back for a second time. Obviously, we've got Jota, other players have done it as well. And I seen somebody in the comments saying if Matt O'Reilly would be available, I'd snap your phone off for him, 100%. But no Kyogo, no for me.
Aye, it's a bit of an interesting debate, Paddy. A lot of people have actually spoke about it in our comments, and I've seen it online as well, that that he could be available for 3 million, 3.5 million, something like that. Is he a player you'd take back?
Do you know what, Scotty? Given the price, for me, if the price was 3 million, I wouldn't mind taking a punt on him again. Absolutely. The one thing I think that needs to be sorted out, he needs to get that shoulder sorted out. He's already been told he needs an operation. So I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but that will be a big gamble bringing him back with that shoulder problem still being there. But do you know what? When you look at the Jota deal, we sold Kyogo for 10 million. If you could bring him back for 3, the thing I'm looking at is Adam Ida just hasn't exactly set the heather on fire. This season it just hasn't happened for the big guy. That's not to say that he won't go on a run now between now and the end of the season and bang in some really important goals the way he did, I suppose, this time last year. But do you know what? For me, I loved the wee man. I thought he was different class. He was a brilliant wee player. And listen, I think for a club like Celtic, who have already banked £10 million, effectively that's a £7 million profit to bring Kyogo back. I would certainly be having a look at it. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But I would have no problem with bringing Kyogo back.
Aye, might be good as the number 2 striker, as a few people have said, for that sort of money, 3 million quid. I'm with you, Paddy. I would take him back for that. Definitely, proven goal scorer. You know, you know what you're getting with him as well, and he knows the club inside out. So why not?
Yeah,
I'd take Gary Hooper, mate. Gary Hooper.
as
He's
James,
got
as James
a
said there,
Dunfermline.
James Kennedy just said there very true. You know, Kyogo wanted to go himself. You know, Andy, we talked about that. You know, he was under pressure from the Japan manager. There's no question of that. These guys were told that if you don't play in one of the top four leagues in Europe, you're not going to get picked for the next World Cup. You saw the wee documentary that we did on Kyogo during last season, where he was sitting up in his apartment in Glasgow by himself. He was absolutely devastated that he'd been left out of the last World Cup squad. You know, that's his ambition. His ambition was to play in Europe. His ambition was to play in the Champions League, and his ambition was to represent Japan at the World Cup. And that's the only thing that
Paddy, do you think that's actually true though? Like, do you think he's used that as an excuse to get out of Celtic? Because there you've got Daizen, who plays always regular in the squad, and now Hatate as well. Two players.
The thing is, Daizen was already an established player. He was an established Japan player. You know, Kyogo's still trying to sort of force his way in there. Daizen was already an established player. I don't know, Andy. I just read the comments that were coming from the Japanese manager at the time, and that's apparently what they were being told. And it's very strange that literally only a few months later, Kyogo's on his way to France. And as you say, he was actually picked for one of the squads there recently, and he hasn't kicked the ball for Rennes. But the fact that he's now playing in one of the big leagues would lead you to believe that there is truth in it there. So listen, Kyogo had that as an ambition. He wanted to represent his country at a World Cup. So when he retires, he can say he won trophies with Celtic, he won trophies in Japan. He's played in the Champions League, scored goals in the Champions League, and he's represented his country, and that's what he wants to be known for. So listen, there was no question it was his decision. He wasn't forced out the door in any way, shape, or form. But listen, it's all pie in the sky. But I'm just thinking if he would, if there's an opportunity for him to come back, for us to sell him for 10 million and bring him back for 3, again, I would have no problem doing that at all. The wee man was different class.
Paddy, you've got a super fan there, Stephen.
I was going to say, Stephen loves your voice, and Michelle wants to go for a wee wrestle with you, Paddy. So you're in luck tonight. Oh, brilliant! So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get your pens and your papers out. It's Andy up first with.
What is it?
Who's that player?
Give you 6 seconds warning there, mate.
I wasn't sure what segment it was. I thought you were doing one yourself. Let me get sorted here. Who's that player? So I've got 4 players here, right? Faces covered up. Tell me who they are. Tell me who they are. Player number 1.
4 players. Ooh. Oh my God. Get your comments off. Well, that's big Stan Varga behind them.
Need to see it again?
I put it up again, Andy.
Please, mate, just in case.
Leave that a wee bit longer, mate. I'll leave that a wee bit longer.
Right, I'm going to go for it.
Right, let's start with you, Paddy. Who have you got?
I went for Craig Bellamy.
Oh,
Craig Bellamy. Oh.
Scotty,
who have you got?
I went for Vida Reset.
Vida Reset. Is he still there at that time?
I don't know, mate.
Him and Varga played together, didn't they?
Pretty sure.
Sorry, guys. I just need to scroll down a bit. It was Nanek Isel Bellamy.
There you are.
Is it?
Aye, it is. Aye.
What the hell? Well done, Paddy.
Mind to cut the collar off his top because he had no neck.
Yeah.
Or he tucked it in or cut it. I think he actually cut it, if I remember right.
Well done, mate.
1-0 to Paddy, right? Player number 2.
Oh, yes, I think so.
He's all right.
Yep, all good.
Aye, let's go for it.
Right, Scotty, let's start with you this time.
I went for Stefan Johansson.
Stefan Johansson. Paddy, who have you got?
Yep, same for me, Andy. Stefan Johansson.
Okay. And that was Stefan Johansson. Well done, guys. So you got that right. Player number 3.
Oh. One of my all-time favourites.
I think.
Paddy.
One and only Johnny Doyle.
Johnny Doyle. Scotty.
I've done the same, mate. Aye, Johnny Doyle.
Johnny Doyle. It was the wonderful Johnny Doyle.
Yep.
What a man.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. Taking far too young, man.
Oh.
The final player, here he is.
Oh. Oh, fuck me, gentleman. It's a bit of a beast there.
That's a tricky one. I know who I thought it was initially, but when you see if you see the hair just between the L and the O of the 4-leaf clover there.
Hey, Paddy, we don't want your life story. Just write a fucking player down.
That was throwing me off.
Right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Aye, I'll take the draw. I'll take the draw.
Paddy, who have you got?
I'm going for Brian McClare.
Brian McClare. Scotty, who have you got?
Chalky.
Chalky McClare. Let's find out if it is him or no.
Oh.
Brian McClare.
Disgusting.
Well done, guys. So, Paddy, you got all 4 right. Scotty, you get 3 right, mate. You get the first one wrong. So, Mr. Patrick Dunlop is the winner. Well done, mate. Well done.
He's not a bottle of red wine in. Well done, Paddy. Ladies and gentlemen, that was...
Who's that player?
Right. Get your comment. Well, you can put your comments back on now, actually, because it doesn't really matter for this one. It's your favourite game, lads. It is.
Choose your boys carefully.
Comment. Oh, incidentally, while we talk it, did you see the thing about Barton getting thing meets for Barty and he said Chucky Allah? That's what a former Rangers player. I bet they were raging about that. He's an absolute clown anyway, but
There's misses in the head there.
Yeah, right. Yep. Scumbag.
Aye. Should have been flung back in the jail for that, so he should have for his history. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I have got, choose your boys carefully this evening, I've got the other side of the centre halves. I managed to catch the lads out again last week with Dewey as both the number ones. So let's see how...
Nice about that one.
So let's see how they got on tonight. If you haven't played this game before, basically I give the guys 5 random centre halves, and after each one they have to tell me where they're going to place them in their 1 to 5. There might be a couple of superstars in there might be a couple of duds, so they have to choose their boys carefully. Now the reason we're doing this is because during the pre-season we're going to be doing our last man standing segment again, which I done on a previous podcast that myself and Andy was on. and it was very, very popular indeed. So this is just a wee teaser before we do that in the pre-season, which is coming up in a few weeks, obviously. So the first guy I've got for you this evening, ladies and gentlemen, want you to play along as well, so get your numbers in the comments, is Gary Caldwell.
The Heat.
Gary Caldwell. Andy, where are you putting Gary Caldwell?
He's going in at number 4, mate. The Heat's in at 4.
Number 4.
Yep.
Okay. Patrick?
I'm going to put Gary Caldwell at number 4.
Number 4 as well. Right, okay. So, Craig McLean, 5. James, 3. Stephen, 4. Plunge, 5. Edward, 5. Tommy, 5. 4, 4, 5, 4, 4, 4. Aye, a lot of 4s and 5s in there. There's our John Shirley back. Good to see you, sir. Our Helen as well. Good to see you, pal. So a lot of them agreeing with you there, lads. Number 4. So next up, we have a guy who was phenomenal for us, I thought, but injury sort of curtailed his career. Could have been a great Mark Reaper.
Oh.
Mark Reaper. What a player.
What a player.
He was brilliant, man.
As you just said, injury. Yep. But
Right, Andy, where are you putting Mark Reaper, pal?
I'm going to put him in at 2, mate.
Yep. Okay. Patrick?
Mark Reaper in number 2 for me too, Scott.
Number 2. Yeah, good call. Good call that. Let's have a look. Dougster's gone with 3, 4, 3. But then a lot of them are agreeing with you guys. A lot of number 2s in there. Michelle, 3. Helen. Comments are flying in. Just trying to get them all up, ladies and gentlemen. Gillian's been a bit harsh there, I think.
Aye.
You're John and off, jeez. Okay. Next up is Christopher Julien. We spoke about him a wee bit recently, very similar to Trusty. We seem to think on this podcast. Andy, what are you thinking? Big Christopher Julien.
I've got 1, 3 and 5 left. And I thought he was a decent player. I thought he was really soft, though. I thought he would, you want a wee bit of steel about your centre halves, and he'd done this whole Superman thing, and it was anything but.
He's a class.
I'm going to put him at 5, mate. 5.
Okay. Patrick?
Yep, same for me, Scott. I'm sticking him at number 5.
Okay. Gillian, 3. Stephen, 5. Jerry, 5. Lisa, 4. 3. Yeah. A lot of people agreeing with it.
The thing is, you never know who's coming up next. That's the problem, innit? It's
Shades of last week.
Yeah.
Fucking do we?
Yeah.
Right. Next up is John Yogi Hughes.
Oh, big Yogi, man.
John Yogi Hughes. No nonsense. Not a great football player, but no nonsense defender.
Aye. Yep. Aye. Really kind of basic, I suppose, but done what he was there. Done what he was there today. What I loved about him was the fact that, see if he knocked a player out or whatever, he never ever went to go and help them up or apologised. He just stoated by them.
Aye.
And that's what you want, I've
In the stand every time as well, mate. Just didn't fucking.
I've not got a problem with that. Or give to somebody that can play with the ball. I've got absolutely no problem with that. As long as you defender's a defender, and he done that. I've only got 1 and 3 left, and there's no way he's going in number 1, so he's going to be number 3 for me.
Okay. Patrick?
I can't say I disagree in any way, just exactly the same. He has to go in at number 3 for me. Just loved the big guy, loved his commitment, honest big player. He knew himself he had limitations, but the one thing that you could never ever lack about him was his attitude and his commitment. No danger. But for me, he has to go in at number 3.
What are you nervous about, Lisa? Do you think I'm going to do the boys bad again tonight?
Oh, I've got a funny feeling that is going to happen.
There's quite a few good comments here, by the way, about our Yogi. Has to be hard. It was hard as nails. He was. Helen has to be 5, as I've only got number 1 left. Brad lad, surely big Daniel Mastorovic will be in there. And Jerry, old-fashioned centre half.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, come on, Scott's last picks are always shit. That's no fucking is it? You're on here, Helen, as well.
They're on to you, Scott. They're on to you.
See, you could foresee that and say, it is, but that's when you get tripped up and you actually you get caught out. It's so easy to get caught out. It's difficult.
It certainly is. And somebody has already mentioned this guy in the comments earlier.
Oh, please.
It is big Daniel Mastorovic. The turning circle of the Aaron boat. Big Daniel. Andy, what have you got left, sir?
Number 1. Done us up again, mate. Done us up again. Yeah. Aye.
Paddy?
I've only got number 1 left as well, Scott. So
poor Daniel. Poor Daniel.
Oh, dearie me.
He wasn't the worst centre half in the world, but
he wasn't. I tried to do you know what? I picked 5 that were similar to sort of level, I would say. Barring Big Mark Reaper, I thought Big Mark Reaper was different class.
Yeah, he was.
I think if we had him longer, he'd be up there with definitely the one of the best centre halves we've had.
By the way, Scotty, I'm going to have to up my game when this last man standing starts, because that is a brilliant segment, but really difficult. And that's where you slip up. You never know what you're going to pull out the bag, and get it up you, mate. Just get it up you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was what was it? It was
Choose your boys carefully.
Well done, mate.
That's segment-wise, ladies and gentlemen. So there's just one last thing that we need to have a wee chat about, and it is we've got a wee game tomorrow. Aberdeen take on Motherwell. Celtic take on Hearts at 3:00 at Celtic Park. Hibs host St Johnstone. St Mirren host Kilmarnock. And then the late kick-off is Dundee versus the Rangers. And on Sunday, Ross County host Dundee United. So let's just have a wee look at the SPFL table, Premiership table, before we move on. So as we can see, ladies and gentlemen, Celtic are 13 points clear going into the game against Hearts tomorrow. And if you look at the away section there, Hearts, we spoke about it briefly last Friday. They've got really poor away form, to be honest. So hopefully that continues tomorrow at Celtic Park, and we give them a good doing over. Andy, Brendan Rodgers' press conference today. Better news this week than it was against the Rangers. Calmack, Trusty, Bernardo and Forrest are back in the squad. I think the only player missing really will be obviously Kasper Schmeichel, which we touched on earlier. What do you see, or who do you see your starting 11 being tomorrow, mate? And do you think Big Naroki will keep us placing the team ahead of Trusty. What's your starting 11, mate? And talk us through the game. How do you see it going?
I want to be against Big Rocky getting a game, but he's going to bring Trusty in. I've got absolutely no doubt about that. So AJ, CCV, Trusty, and is he going to? I think he'll go Sloop. Obviously, we know the goalkeeper situation. Good to see Calmac back. Bernardo's not going to start. He's not played for so long. He's certainly not going to start. He certainly wasn't in the picture as a starting player before. So that isn't going to change, just coming back for a long-term injury. So obviously on the bench, he might get some minutes depending on anything can happen in the game. But he will be on at some point. As I said, good to see Calmac back. So it'll be Hatate and Engels. And I don't know about Kuhn. I don't know. I think he might still stick with him. I know he's been off the boil and we've spoken about his body language, doesn't look fantastic. But Yang is an exciting player, and we've all slated him. Just about everybody out there slated him, not just us. But he's really come onto a game and he looks a totally different player. So I mean, that's the only position I'm in kind of two minds about would be the right hand side, whether he starts with Kuhn or Yang. I think he might just stick with Kuhn, which is unfortunate for Yang. But again, I think he will get time on the pitch. Jota on the left and Maeda through the middle. And I know Big Adam got a goal for Ireland when international duty. And I do kind of feel sorry for him because we know he can score goals. I think it's maybe a confidence thing. I think he listens to what people say, whether he's online, having a wee look through comments on podcasts or through articles and kind of online forums or whatever, because he was aware that the Irish fans weren't too happy with him when he scored. He kind of put his finger to his lips, and he alluded to the fact that that's what it was to do with. So that's a confidence thing for me. If he feels as if he's getting bad mouthed, it's playing on his mind. And when he does score, he's mate, it's like, well, say this to me now. I've just scored. We know what he can do. That's the reason why he was brought in. But it's a consistency thing. But unfortunately for Adam, he's not consistently getting starts, so he can't up his game when it comes to sticking the ball in the back of the net and finishing chances. I think he will come on and get a chance in the game. Celtic need to come out and put on a performance. We deserve it. I think it's we're at home again. So the fans are requiring us to come out with the right attitude this time. So I'm looking forward to it. It's good to see us back playing again. It feels as if it's been forever since we've sat and watched Celtic. It's been absolute murder. So I'm looking forward to the game. I think it might be a bit tight though. So I think I might go with 2-1. Celtic. I'll go with 2-1. Aye, and it's a bit different for me because I've always been kind of 3 or above at most games. I'll stick with 2-1. I think it possibly could be more because I think Celtic are definitely going to come out and put on a really good performance. But I'll go with 2-1.
Do you think Alistair Johnson's going to start tomorrow in front of Ralston as well, Andy? Because, he had a very poor game at Celtic Park against the Rangers. And Ralston was very good for Scotland. I watched the game and stuff. Do you see Alistair Johnson keeping his place in the team?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye. I think with AJ, it's not a continuous thing. When he has any bad performance, he usually kicks in the next game or the game after. It's no it's just a kind of one-off with him. I know you can look at certain games throughout the season and say he's not done it there, he's not done it there, but it's not been a constant run of bad performances. So I would definitely stick with AJ.
Yeah, and Plunge's got Ralston in as well there, surprisingly, or not, whatever way you want to look at it. Paddy, I mentioned the players that are back, which is great to see. Obviously, big Kasper, a huge miss for us tomorrow. But we get the wee man in to see what he's like, get him a run of games and see how he gets on. What's your prediction for your starting 11? And what's your prediction for the scoreline as well, my good man?
A great chance for Sinisalo. Absolutely the chance he's been waiting for. And just what we've been saying all season long about the guys that are trying to push Kun or Maeda or whoever. This is the opportunity for Sinisalo to grab the jersey, to grab the gloves, and let's see what he can do. So I'm looking forward to seeing him tomorrow. Looking forward to see what he can do. For me, I think we're at the stage of the season now. European football's gone. You know, we're now just waiting for the cup semi-final, so we're only going to be one game a week. You know, so I think Brendan will just he can go with his strongest 11 now. He doesn't need to worry about, you know, Wednesday night or any other thing. So I think he'll go with the tried and tested. So for me, the goalkeeper will be Sinisalo. The back four will be Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Austin Trusty returns, and Jeffrey Sloop at left back. Midfield three will be Rio Hatate, Arne Engels, and Kalmak to return in the middle of the field. And my front three are going to be Kun on the right, Maeda through the middle, and Jota on the left. That being said, I will have absolutely no problems if he starts Yang. I will have no issue with that whatsoever. I think Yang can consider himself lucky or unlucky recently that he didn't get a start in a couple of games. So listen, Kun, fantastic. But if we go to Celtic Park tomorrow and we discover that Yang start, I'll have no issue with that whatsoever because he deserves an opportunity. But I do think he'll start with Kun, Maeda, and Jota. And to be honest, guys, I think we need to send out a message that we're, you know, last week against Rangers was a blip. It was a bump on the road on the way to the title. So we come out tomorrow, all guns blazing. We go for it from the very first, you know, and do what we didn't do against Rangers, particularly in the first 20 minutes, and take the game by the scruff of the neck. The big crowd will be there, giving them all the support. So give the guys something to shout about. So I'm going to go for Celtic to run out 3-0 winners, easily 3-0 winners. I'm going to go for Daizen Maeda to score, Arne Engels and Jota to get a goal at Celtic Park. So for me, 3-0 Celtic, comfortable 3 points, and we go on to the next one.
I would start Ralston and Yang tomorrow. I must admit, I would give AJ and Kun a wee bit of bench time. AJ, because of his international exploits, you know, the travel and all that, I would happily play Ralston tomorrow. And I think Yang deserves a chance. I think Kun's been a shadow of himself for the past couple of months now, really. He's just really took his foot off the gas and sort of been in cruise control. And when it comes to players like that, for me, if you're not putting 100% in and no performing, I'm quite happy to bench him for a game. So I would quite happily see Yang on tomorrow. I think we're absolutely going to hammer Hearts tomorrow. I think we're going to put 5 or 6 past them. So I'm going to go for 5-0 Celtic. I think we're going to put on a show, try and get this league wrapped up. Hopefully they slip up in Dundee and we can get the title wrapped up before the split against Kilmarnock. I heard as well that that's been sold out already and they've obviously changed the TV timings for that as well, hoping that they're going to get a title party at Celtic Park that day. So hopefully that is the case. Ladies and gentlemen, that is us for this evening. That is your 4-Leaf Clover podcast Friday focus show. If this is the first time you've watched us, please like the podcast, share it, subscribe, comment. We put quite a few community posts out and things like that, and we like to engage with everybody. Myself and Andy will be back tomorrow for the post-match show. Our Paddy will be, if he gets on the Stena line, by the way he's been treating his Irish players on the old segment.
No Irish guys tonight, thankfully.
That's if he gets on.
Away with one the night there.
Yeah, you did, mate.
And listen, any of the guys, there's been a couple of guys there saying about, spot me at the game or on the boat or whatever. Listen, please come and say hello. Anybody, if you see me passing by tomorrow, give us a shout. Don't be scared to come and say hello. We'll get a wee picture and we'll put up the next time we're on the pod. We'll get a wee picture up. So anybody that's watching, if you see me out and about tomorrow anywhere, just give me a wee shout.
Yeah, bang on, man. Don't be shy. That's us. Like I said, we'll be back on for the post-match show tomorrow, myself and Andy. Thank you, Andy, for joining me this evening. Good to have everybody back. Thank you, Paddy.
Pleasure, Scott.
And that's us. And our Michelle's away to watch Friday night SmackDown. She loves her wrestling, as she said earlier. So that's us. We will see you tomorrow. Catch you later on. All the best.
Hail, hail, guys.
On the hoops.